So what we're going to do here on the RLads Football Network is talk Arizona Cardinals football and go over their top 3 draft needs. Again, Jess Root is with Cards Wire, and also, by the way, he's the site editor there, and he also is the host of the Rise Up See Red podcast. And obviously, you can get that on all the streaming devices, Apple and so forth. So, all right, Jess. So, top 3 draft needs. Also, want to remind everybody here in our lads to subscribe to the channel so you can continue to get interviews like this, not only before the draft but after. And that includes, of course, hopefully, we'll get Jess back after the draft and find out how the Arizona Cardinals did. But Jess, let's talk about Arizona and their top 3 draft needs, starting with what you believe is draft need number 3.
The number 3 is actually the trickiest one. They have a lot of spots on the roster they could upgrade, but I'm going to say right now number 3 is going to be cornerback. Even though they addressed cornerback last year twice in the draft, they signed Sean Murphy-Bunting to a 3-year deal. They believe he's going to be their guy. Their 3rd-round pick last year, Garrett Williams, looked really promising. But last year, they had 4 different rookies start. That included Keitrell Clark, 5th-rounder out of Louisville. They claimed Starling Thomas off waivers. He was I believe, an undrafted rookie. Came up with Detroit last year before starting a few games for the Cardinals after Marco Wilson flamed out. And then also Devad Wilson. But they can definitely do better than that. It's definitely a position they can upgrade. You could also say the defensive line might be in there, except that they signed 2 guys to 3-year deals. They brought back LJ Collier, and so you feel pretty okay with the starting lineup and the depth on the defensive line. You're hoping the second-year guys develop so that you feel good about corner, and that's why I say cornerback early is probably one of the bigger needs. That would definitely be the pass rush off the edge, outside linebacker. Cardinals play basically a 3-4, and so we look at that. Last year, they had their leader was Dennis Gardeck with 6 sacks, and he's a special team. Now he's a solid pass rusher, but they also had 1 single sack over the final 6 games of the season. I'm not even barely going to count that as a sack because the 1 sack they had was giving credit to Dennis Gardeck when Justin Fields ran out of bounds for no gain. So if basically 0 sacks over the last 6 games. They did draft B.J. Ojulari last year, and he showed some promise, and Zaven Collins moved from inside to outside backer to the edge, and while he only had 3.5 sacks, it's interesting the way the coaching staff talks about him. They view him, they really, really like him. But that said, you have to do better with what you have on your pass rush than currently constitute. I think they had 30 sacks. They were 33 sacks on this year. They were 30th in the league, I believe. That's not good enough when you've got, that defense was terribly, terribly bad.
Okay, sounds good, Jess. Now let's talk about their number 1 draft need.
Oh, clearly it's wide receiver. They lost Marquise Brown in free agency. They traded away Rondale Moore. So this is what their top 3 currently looks like. Second-year pro Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, who is exciting. Nobody outside of Arizona knows who he is. And then Chris Moore, whom they just signed. However, the most accomplished receiver on their team is Zach Pascal. He had 2 600-yard seasons with the Colts, but he had 4 catches last year. He's a special teams guy. The starting 3, like the top 3 right now, between Wilson, Dortch, and Moore, they have yet to reach 600 yards in a season. So clearly, wide receiver's not at a spot where you want to be on the roster. However, with that 4th pick, we know that there's a really, really, really good one, or one of 3 really, really good ones that they can get.